Hey everyone, this is Stevie Richards. Welcome to the Big Fitness Show and welcome to World War III. This is episode 31, 32. Doesn't matter. We may not make it to 33 at this point. I am Big Stevie Cool. This is Big Mike Barons. You're still military age. I'm not. So congratulations. I would be
I
on
don't
the
know. It's
elderly
40.
troop doing something like office work or whatever.
Yeah, it's 40 to technically qualify me, or am I too old?
I have no idea. I guess we're going to, I hope not, but I guess we're going to find out. Maybe
Yeah.
sooner rather than later. We pray every day that we don't. We talked about it off the air, and
Yeah.
going to talk about something that kind of, in a way, is an analogy to what's going on, especially when we talk about the world and people. We're going to talk about personal responsibility, personal accountability today, which is pretty much the essence of any fitness journey, but
Hmm.
should be the essence of everybody's life journey. And we're going to
Right.
explore, we're going to go back and forth. And also, I'm going to share, and I know Mike will share times when we were younger and even maybe today where we kind of shirk that personal
Yeah.
responsibility and accountability because everybody's human, everybody's flawed, and we aim to be open and transparent with everybody here that listens and watches the Big Fitness Show.
Yeah,
How are you,
totally.
Mike?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing very, very, very good. I will be honest, I had to get a couple root canals yesterday, so my mouth is in a little bit of pain. And it's, interesting to talk because I have just kind of some still a little numbness, but still just a lot of pain going on in my mouth. But this is what kind of prompted this idea of personal responsibility, because I would not be in this much pain had I taken responsibility years ago and gotten my teeth fixed years ago. And so instead I was the macho dude and decided to not get my teeth fixed and just deal with it. And now it's very painful, but whatever. Oh, well.
Were you an idiot like I was, where I was like, nah, well, I'll just drink low carb protein shakes and I'll lean out while my mouth hurts. I don't need teeth to chew anything.
I did last night when I got done with the dentist and my mouth was all numb and stuff. And I'm like, I'm just so hungry, but I think I'll just stick with protein shake and then I had applesauce and cottage cheese for supper. And that was, that was my meal. So I didn't chew anything today. I haven't eaten anything yet today. So I'm a little iffy on how it's going to feel. My right side feels fine, but my left side yeah, doesn't feel great. So anyway, as far as today goes, the personal responsibility episode, before we get into it, we have a quick ask from you, the audience, and you, the listeners, about submitting some questions for us. We want to start to answer questions. So I get questions out, and when I'm out and about and I'm at shows and things like that and interacting with people, I get questions from people that are listening to the show, and I love to answer questions in person and talk to them, talk in person about those and directly answer the questions. But Stevie and I talked about it, and we would love to answer questions on the show. We would love to make that a regular part of the show where you guys submit a question and we answer it and give us our thoughts and opinions on it. Fitness in the fitness world. We want to try to help as many people as we possibly can. So if you have a question, leave a comment below on the YouTube channel at the Big Fitness Show YouTube channel. If you have a question that you want to email us at thebigfitnessshow@gmail.com. And just reach out, and we would love to answer any questions. We also have an opportunity for you to leave a voicemail. If you leave a voicemail and it's a decent one, the sound quality is decent, maybe we'll play it on the show so that we can hear the question before we actually answer it. But please, if you have questions, submit it. We would love to hear from you and help with whatever it is. And there's no dumb questions, so please feel free to fire away with them.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is it's great when people come up to you in person as well as myself, or they email us directly one-on-one, but it really does serve many more people because you aren't going to be the only one with the question, or let's even include comments, opinions.
Mm-hmm.
You can correct us on stuff. We're not above retracting stuff. This
Sure.
thing is, especially the fitness industry, that's the confusing part that we would love to answer questions about, because it's seemingly the people in power or the corporations or whoever controls the flow of information, they tend to switch up. Like, eggs are great for you today.
Yeah.
6 months from now, 70,000 people died from eating eggs. So
Yeah, sure.
it's confusing, and we keep it simple here. That's why the Big Fitness Show is essentially what we would say is fitness 101, health 101, nutrition 101. Wellness 101. We aim to really speak to beginners or people like myself. I found that this year I had to start my entire fitness journey over
Sure.
again. So no matter how many years you have, you're going to be at a point where you're going to have to go back to fitness 101 and reincorporate the basics. And that's what we're hoping to offer people here. So by the way, I'm a little jealous because I'm the one that wants to be the 80s love song radio host, but that voice you have with your teeth right now, very smooth. Delilah's Den type stuff, Quiet Storm type of voice. So
Shoot.
selfishly, I hope your mouth gets better so you don't sound like you have a better radio voice than me. So
I
well,
just
let's
think it's
talk.
my microphone
Yeah,
sticking with the same microphone. You've had the same one for a little while now.
I gotta switch it up today to the beacon mic from this. I actually have another microphone. You'll see. And it's an all white microphone and RGB light. So it's definitely gonna stand out more and
Oh wow.
pretty
Yeah.
cool. Pretty cool stuff. I'm still, a tech geek. We've talked about the T4 show and maybe bringing that back because we're not busy at all. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's,
right.
but
Enough going on.
let's talk. I'll start with you if that's okay.
Yeah.
Let's start the easy one, I guess, is the wrestling business. And we both have told these stories separately and a
Hmm.
little bit on this show, but you're famously transparent
Hmm.
about the WWE, about the Performance Center, about your tryout. And as a matter of fact, you are going to try to right that wrong
Sure.
where a long time ago you didn't bring on enough personal responsibility and ended up possibly costing you an opportunity to elevate your career. Do you want to kind of remind everybody who might be listening for the first time about that?
Yeah, sure. I think that is a big part of my growth in the personal journey or the personal responsibility idea, right? Like for so long when I was young and dumb and I just thought I had the world by the balls and, everybody owed me everything and nothing was my fault if something didn't happen, like I think when it comes to taking responsibility for your life and what's going on, you have to, in a way, go through negative experiences where things don't happen how you want them to, or whatever. And that helps teach you this idea of personal responsibility. And for me, with wrestling, I've been a professional wrestler for 20 years. And so and on paper, if you look at me, I'm 6'5", I weigh 265 pounds. I've always been a big guy and I'm in good shape. I'm an athlete. So the aspirations of a WWE career or getting signed to a big time wrestling promotion were legitimate. Like they were definitely real things. And I had a couple tryouts, and the last tryout I had, I just totally shit the bed when I got there because I didn't show up prepared. And there was no denying that it was 100% my fault. And the only thing I could do is take responsibility for that. And it taught me in a very, very humbling and a hard way that if I want anything, it's up to me. And I've learned and continued to learn over the years, and I still continue to learn. And it's a reminder every single day. And that's kind of the prompting of this episode is I feel like more of us need to take responsibility, complete responsibility for everything in our life. And when I look back at that, I look at where I'm at in wrestling, 20 years in, 40 years old. Man, if I'd have just taken more responsibility at the last tryout, which was 10 years ago, I think.
And still sticking with you to this day.
Yeah. Like it doesn't, I still, I don't know that I regret, because I try not to regret anything, but I definitely am like, man, I wish I would have done that better. Right. I wish I would have showed up better. I wish I would have taken more responsibility for it. And that same theme continues to come in my life. And I really believe that in everything that happens, there's a lesson to be learned. And if you don't learn the lesson, then God's going to give you an opportunity to learn it again. Right. And so with this taking responsibility, I don't know that I learned my lesson the first time, the second time, the third time, the 10th time, the 20th time. And so it's just a constant thing. And I think talking about this is good because it's hopefully going to trigger some of the people listening, trigger both of us as just a reminder that we need to take complete responsibility for everything in our lives. And so I look at that tryout that I had, and it's really easy. Anybody who's ever had a tryout or an audition or anything like that, an interview, a job interview, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anytime you've ever put yourself in a position where you're being evaluated to get to the next level or the next step or something like that, it's so easy to blame the other people. It's so easy to blame the other people that were in that, oh, they had a excuse against me, or they thought I didn't look right, or whatever, some BS that you can make up in your mind. But the reality of the situation is you didn't show up properly for that position. You didn't bring you all of that you could and your skills to the table. And if you were right for that and you took responsibility, then the outcome probably would have been different. But the only thing that could have changed that would have been you taking the responsibility for how you didn't show up. And then when you take responsibility from it, it allows you to learn and grow so that the next time you show up different, And so, like, to bring it back with the WWE tryout, if I were to ever get another tryout, I guarantee you I would take responsibility and show up different.
Well, you're hopefully going to have that opportunity. I saw the thing we were working on. You were working mostly on it, but getting in touch with me for feedback, and it's excellent. It's different. It's
Hopefully.
authentic as you are. I mean, that's something in the wrestling business you don't really get. And I'll just add a little, and I'll pass it back to you. The wrestling business is really easy to blame other people because it is such a subjective business,
Sure.
and there are your paranoia, or I have an instinct for sometimes really shady characters. I can
Sure.
kind of feel that as you can. I can sometimes feel pure evil in
Sure.
certain situations. And honestly, that's where professional wrestling, which is basically the entertainment business, really thrives at times. But that's also not an excuse, because if you're going to give them a reason, not an excuse, but a reason not to push you, not to feature you, not to hire you, not to even give you a second look, then you're lost anyway.
Yeah.
If you do your best and you're in great shape, you did it, but it's just the political beast isn't on your side at this time, and you'll continue the work and have the lesson, that's completely different. But it's such an easy thing. I did it too. That's why I gained weight, went all the way up to 262 pounds, because they weren't using me right. They weren't doing this. It was everybody else. And then it's just another 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, turned into 62 pounds heavier
Right.
than I was.
Sure.
But essentially, I wasn't hurting them. They didn't care.
Yeah.
I was only hurting myself. They
Right.
didn't think about you the day after, unless they were goofing on the fact that, well, this guy showed up not even ready. My God.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a horrible feeling, but it was 100% both on us.
Yeah.
And then when we flipped it, everything else in the world opened up. Maybe wrestling didn't completely reward us when we finally got it, but we're reaping the rewards each and every day with our own businesses and our own brands. That's the way I look at it now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it translates to every other area of your life, like specifically in the fitness part of your life. Taking responsibility for that is huge. And I think once you realize the responsibility that you had and the role that you played in getting to where you are in your fitness journey, good or bad. And I think that's a lot of times a recurring theme when I talk to people is they make an excuse. They find a reason as to why this is like this, or why I can't do this and all that. And I was guilty of it too. And I still am sometimes, we've talked about, I have young children. My oldest is going to be 10 soon. But so when she was a baby, she didn't sleep at night. And so I just got big and I got up to 295 pounds at one point.
Oh, wow.
And I used it as an excuse of, oh, well, she's not sleeping through the night, so I'm tired. And I didn't take responsibility for the fact that I needed to prioritize my sleep a little more. I needed to prioritize my diet a little more. I needed to prioritize these things. And I just used it as an excuse. And I just blamed essentially my daughter, my 2-year-old daughter, for the reason I was fat. Like it was dumb. And it was so stupid to blame her for that. But it was because I just didn't want to take responsibility. Anytime in my life that I've had these issues or had something go wrong, it is so easy to blame the other person or blame the scenario or blame the situation. But as soon as I started looking inward and looking at myself in every scenario, and we've talked about some of this stuff in the past, but really never focused all in on the responsibility piece. It as soon as I started doing, as soon as I started taking complete responsibility for my life, I started making changes. And it wasn't until then that those changes really started to stick. In fitness, I took responsibility for my nutrition and my training. And because I've done that, I'm in better health than I've been in a very long time. I'm in better shape than I've been in. I'm feeling better than I ever have, because I've taken responsibility for that, as opposed to saying, oh, well, I don't have the time here. I don't have the time here. I don't have this, and making all these excuses as to why I couldn't do it. And then that translates into, because I took responsibility in my fitness journey, it then showed me what is possible in my business. And so then I took complete responsibility. Instead of relying on the companies that I work with, the brands that I partner with, instead of relying on them to do what I do, and I'm sure you can touch on this too, instead of relying on them to help me make money and all this kind of stuff, as soon as I took complete responsibility for my brand and my income, things started to change. And I'm sure you experienced that too.
Yeah, but you have the benefit, and also it's kind of a double-edged sword at the same time. Your business will thrive or die based on your personal accountability, especially your fitness accountability.
Totally.
You work with X endurance. So basically, if you're saying this stuff works and you're not in shape and you're not feeling right and you don't look healthy and you look tired,
Yeah,
your family's food on the table depends on it. So
sure.
we can look at that as a positive because there's no wiggle room, but somebody else be like, I don't know if I'd be crushed under that pressure. But you
Sure.
and I feel like that's the boundaries. Those are the guardrails we need in order
Sure.
to run our businesses.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, definitely. And I think the responsibility that you can take of, I get so fired up when I talk about this. It's I'm fighting not going off on a
Oh, let's
tangent right now.
go. Let's go. Come on.
Like,
Let's
okay,
go.
so responsibility in all areas of your life, specifically your fitness journey, can carry over to every other aspect. And this bullshit excuse that you give as to why you can't take control of your fitness is just that. It's just an excuse, like this idea that you've gotten fat or put on weight or gotten out of shape because of whatever other reason, because of anything else, any other external circumstance, is just crap. Like I get frustrated with it. And I try to be sensitive when I talk to people directly, because I do care. I try to be empathetic and things like that. But there's so many situations that you've gotten yourself in, and nobody else put you there. Nobody else forced food down your throat. Nobody else forced you to drink 8 gallons of soda every day. Nobody else forced you to not move your body every day. Nobody else is forcing you to do any of this stuff. And I think that there's so many people, and I've talked to people firsthand, and I get guilty of this sometimes, where we don't take that responsibility on our lives and wait for someone else to do it for us. Wait for someone else to tell us what to do, to do the thing for us. And then we get in this bad way. And then now we use that as an excuse, this situation that we've created for ourselves. Like I talk to a lot, like my buddy Tim is a good example. We talked about him a couple episodes ago. For years, and I would say this to his face, so I'm not saying anything that I wouldn't say directly to him. For years, he used the excuse that he was heavy. He was over 400 pounds, and he just used it as an excuse as to why he couldn't get well, why he couldn't get fit, why he couldn't get healthy. And I would call him on it, and all of his friends would call him on it, because we cared about him. And now finally, he has taken responsibility for his health and realized that he got himself to where he is, and it's up to him to get himself out of that. And encouragement and all this kind of stuff, but I can't work out for him. That's the thing about fitness, is nobody else can do it for you. With your back and the infection, nobody else could do that for you. I couldn't fix your back for you. I couldn't heal. I couldn't work out for you and then somehow magically translate that to you. I can't do that to Tim. And that's the thing with the responsibility. I think fitness is a great way to learn it and teach it, because literally no one else can do this for you. And you have to take responsibility to get your fitness. And I'm kind of feel like I'm all over the place a little bit, but I'm just fired up because more people need to take responsibility for their fitness, their nutrition, their overall health, their sleep, their productivity, everything. And if you did that, if you just took responsibility for everything and started to make changes, you'd be a completely new person in 6 months.
I don't want to get us in any trouble here, but
Yeah.
that's a famous last words. I do want to say that the media, society as a whole right now, and dare I say even governments and people like that or whatever institutions are telling you that it's okay. It's the body positivity movement. That's a
Sure.
very, very dangerous thing. And I'm not saying everybody's got to look like, Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day or be
Sure.
shredded or any of that stuff. But what I'm saying is it is a dangerous, dangerous message to tell people it's okay to be severely overweight. It's okay to have
Right.
comorbidities. Anybody that calls you out on it is, being whatever word you want to use to put whatever person you're talking to, they'll use that trigger word to shut them up when all they're trying to do is be a real friend, even if they don't know them, to say, hey, you got a problem. I told you to famously, I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I weighed in right to censor years, 262 pounds. I weighed more than Bull Buchanan, which he's as big as you.
Yeah.
Okay. I weighed more than him.
Yeah.
And the Ivory walked by and said, my God, you're getting fat. In 2023, she probably would have been fired. And if I had a different attitude, I would have sued her for being mean to me. But that's what clicked. Maybe not that day, but maybe a month later, I was like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. This is not me.
Sure.
Hey, this is not me. And I never looked back. And your buddy Tim, shout out to him, he probably got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And his mindset, that's the point. His
Yeah.
mindset changed. And that's gonna spread in a great way to everything else. Cause then you're looking around and you're like, okay, I self-assessed my fitness journey. Now let me self-assess my career, my business,
Yep.
where I live, the environment. Even do I line up with the beliefs or the what I believe in, where I'm living, and the people around me? Is my family in line? Do I have the right friends? It spider webs out and festers into something, and you're a whole new person by the end of it, and you'll never
Totally.
be the same. You'll never go back. You'll
Yeah.
never, even with a spine infection, if I didn't have that moment where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired and 1 pound was too much, I wouldn't have had what people say is the OCD or the immense obsession now with getting back in the gym and training and maybe overtraining and doing these things. I'd rather be on that side of the fence than, yeah, it's a rest day, it's a recovery day, it's a cheat meal, it's a cheat day, it's a cheat week. I'm on vacation, I'm tired, my back hurts. Trust me, if I can come back from what I've come back, especially this year, anybody can do anything. You really
Sure.
can.
Sure. Sure. Yep. And the responsibility that you have to take to get there is the base of it. And so for everybody listening, and this might sound a little preachy, you have to take responsibility for your life. You have to take complete responsibility for you and your life. And that's it.
Could I say one more thing about that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is tough love right here for everybody.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Nobody's coming to save you.
Yeah.
We care and can give you the information, but we don't have the time to follow you around and make sure smack hot dogs out of your mouth and put, low fat or low sodium food or whatever healthy food do you like.
Sure.
We're not there. Nobody cares. This is the attitude you have to have.
Yeah.
Nobody cares and nobody's coming to save you.
Right.
Everybody's way too self-absorbed, especially in 2023.
Sure.
It's up to you, nobody else. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. It's the truth. Nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to do any of this stuff for you. If you're sitting around waiting for things, and this is a thought to take in every area of life. And I'll be honest, I didn't adopt that mindset until a few years ago. I was, like a lot of people, where I was waiting for somebody else to do it for me, waiting for somebody else, waiting for the call. You and I joke about it all the time. You're waiting for the call that somebody's going to call and pluck you out of obscurity and give you a shot and all this kind of stuff. No, It just doesn't happen that way. It just doesn't happen that way. You have to put in the work. You have to take responsibility for where you're at to get where you want to go. And there's goal setting, there's different things that you can do, but it all starts with responsibility. If you don't have a goal set, then, and you can set goals all day. You know, I was guilty of this for years where I would set some pretty lofty goals, but then I would never take responsibility on a daily basis to get to those goals. And so the more that we can focus on just taking responsibility today. And so for anybody listening, if you're, you know, outlet on a walk right now, or you're in the gym, or you're driving in your car and you're listening, let's use the example of driving in a car. Driving in the car, listening to the podcast, and you're like, man, I'm a little late today. Okay, well, whose fault is that? Why are you running late? What did you do to make yourself late? Or maybe you're running early. What did you do to make yourself early? Do that. Take responsibility for that. Whatever it was, good or bad, take responsibility, and then do that again. If it was good, if it was bad, don't do it again, you know, like, but if you don't sit and take the time to take responsibility for your actions, for what you do, then it's not going to matter. I've used this equation. I read in a book, and I know that I've said this before on the podcast. E plus R equals O. It's from a book by Jack Canfield. This was my introduction to personal growth and personal development books. It's called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And in there, he talks about this E plus R equals O equation. And it stands for the event plus your response equals the outcome. And it is a way for you to think about responsibility and taking responsibility for everything. So Stevie, let's use Stevie as an example. The event was he got a spinal infection. His response could have been lay down and die, literally. The outcome would have been dead Stevie, no more podcast, right? But instead, his response was, I'm going to get help. I'm going to fight this. I'm going to work to get back in better shape than I've ever been. And now he's kicking ass, back up to 190, getting back to big Stevie cool. And we do the podcast all the time. And the only difference was the response, his response to that. And so he took responsibility. And so for everybody listening, and for myself too, talking to myself, none of this is just me preaching. It's all reminder. Every situation that happens, like my mouth, we talked about that at the beginning of the episode, my 2 root canals that I had to have, my response to the event of the filling falling out was, I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it. Years go by. And now I have an outcome of I had to get root canals. But if I'd have responded when the filling fell out and went and got it fixed immediately, I wouldn't have this issue right now. So you got to look at everything through that lens of what was your response to that event. You can't always control the events, but you can always control your response to those events, which then creates a different outcome based on your response.
I want to amend my earlier thing about nobody's here to save you, nobody cares. If you do have people close to you, because here's where I'm going to be accountable, and I'm actually going to personal accountability. I wasn't like that all the time with the spine infection.
Sure.
My wife pushed me past what I thought I could. Fear, and lots of people have fear out there. Fear overtook me. But
Sure.
the lesson learned from that was that I hadn't felt that fear. I hadn't felt that unknown. I hadn't felt anything like that before. And what we believe is God put that in there to teach me a lesson.
Yeah.
To really teach me a lesson, because I was doing, or my brand and other things in my life was that cardio machine, superhuman, this and that, even whatever. I went into show off mode a little bit too much with the fitness brand, but
Sure.
that wasn't the mission statement I started it on. The mission statement was what we just talked about: beginners, 101, casual, easy to understand. Got a little bit away from me. Even the size of the garage gyms just got a little unmanageable. The
Sure.
spine infection proved that. Hey,
Sure.
quality over quantity.
Sure.
You're getting a little too out of control with all this stuff. It made me reset everything, Mike. And if I didn't have my wife, I probably wouldn't have been to this point right now. So the person that hammered personal responsibility and keep moving forward and keep pushing was my wife. So if anybody out there has somebody like that, hold on to them for dear life and ignore
Sure.
all the other noise, because you may need them and they may need you to tell, hey, my God, you're getting fat. Like Ivory did to me many, many years
Sure.
ago. So I'm
Sure.
not saying you always have to have it in your mind, but you also have to surround yourself. Like I just said, your fitness journey with Tim and what he's doing probably does spread out to say, man, I got to figure out who I have in my circle of friends and
Yeah.
family that will either lift me up or pull me down. The old Mark Murrow elevator pitch.
Sure.
People are like elevators. They'll either lift you up or they're going to drag you down. So
Yeah.
I just want to amend that because I didn't have it during that time, but I thank God every day that my wife shouldered the accountability while I was afraid and lifted me up back into my old mindset.
Totally. And I agree with you that it's definitely great to have people in your life that can help you be accountable. But at the end of the day, it's still up to you. Your wife was pushing you, and not to take anything away from her, because I wholeheartedly believe that she helped you get through all of it, and all the credit in the world to her. But at the end of the day, your response to her pushing you, she could have pushed you and you could have told her to F off, and you guys could be divorced now. You know what I mean? Like,
Should
it's
have beat my ass.
well,
But
but that's the point. Like, so like, and to I was getting into, I had this I posted a thing the other day. This is probably a month or two ago now, that about taking responsibility. And as soon as you learn that you're in complete control of your life, you can fix it and you can make changes. And then it's funny. My friend Dave, is a pastor, he messaged me and he's like, "Yeah, if you," like, he's a pastor, and so I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said something along the lines of, "Once you realize you're not in control, is when you can change things." And I said, "Yes." Once you are take responsibility enough to realize that you're not in control and surrender to that, now you can take full control, because God has given us the opportunity to choose, like free choice, do what we want, right? Like, you realize that there's the higher power there, but once you realize that, now you can have the free will to make the right choices and take the right responsibility. So at the end of the day, it's still up to you, no matter what. Like, you can have someone in your life encouraging you, but you can either take that encouragement and turn it into a positive thing to help take that responsibility, or you can take that person in your life that has been encouraging you and tell them to screw off, and then don't listen to them and ruin that relationship, and then just go the complete opposite direction of where you were going. At the end of the day, it's still up to you to take the responsibility in your life. And it's, man, I'm just gets sorry.
it's just no, it's okay. That's a tricky thing because you can go into a bunch of
Yeah,
wordplay with surrender and take control, and
sure.
because taking you're in full control is like the atheist type of
Oh, sure.
playbook there. And obviously, what we're talking about is we surrender to things we cannot control to
Sure.
God. But the
Sure.
things we can control is acting as like our bodies.
Mhm.
We're given one life here, and we have to make the most out of it. We have to be as healthy and as strong for our family. We want to serve others, but if we can't, like you said, if you can't take care of yourself to be strong enough to take care of other people. So it is still a Christian thing to be able to do. Some
Sure.
people might hear that, but surrendering doesn't mean waiting for the call or waiting for the
No.
diet
Yeah.
and waiting for the workout either.
Yeah.
You got to,
Sure.
I'll put one more saying, your body's a temple. So if you
Yeah.
want to stay in the fitness realm of this personal accountability, you were given a body and you were given health and life each and every day. It could go either way for both of us and
Mhm.
everybody around us. So every time we wake up and we're able to do anything, and this will never leave me, the fact that I can get up, stand up, and walk and
Mhm.
do whatever still makes me emotional multiple times per day. You
Sure.
can hear it in my voice.
Yeah.
So I thank God every day, but I also say I need to make the most out of this day because I don't know if I'm going to have tomorrow.
Sure.
That's personal accountability as well.
Yeah.
What's the legacy you want to leave? I'll just finish with this. I know I'm all over the place too. I could not do the wrestling analysis channel maybe even a year ago because I couldn't get out of my own way.
Sure.
Maybe I couldn't get over a little bit of the bitterness, whether justified or not, from the business. I
Mhm.
couldn't let go, but and also I had an ego, just like everybody
Sure.
else does. But when I looked at the whole in the content, and I said, wow, I'm in a business, and I mean every word that I say in these videos, by the way. I'm not trying to play a character, I'm looking at this and I'm saying the boys, and in this case, the girls or the people within the business, it's almost causes them physical pain to give others credit. They can
Mm,
only put themselves over, as we say in the business.
yeah,
If I can, and I've always been self-deprecating, so that's natural right there. If
sure.
I can give them all the credit in the world and be overly critical of myself, not only is it going to be great as a growth as a man and personal accountability, hyper accountability, but also hyper, giving other people flowers. That's the new saying in 2000, giving everybody their deserved flowers, no matter how I feel about them
Mm,
personally. If I can do that, not only is it going to be great and fulfilling personally, but it's also going to be a business model that nobody else is going to duplicate because nobody else, I guess, chooses to take
sure.
on that growth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes total sense. Yep, makes total sense. And it's
But I
but
couldn't
just
do it. I can't do it without the right attitude, and I can't do it without getting out of my own way.
yeah,
And I managed to do that now.
yeah, yeah. And I think with the learned idea of taking responsibility in all areas of your life translates to, like, I feel like for as a takeaway for anyone listening, the learning to take responsibility for your fitness is the foundation, is a great foundation for everything else moving forward. And so once you learn to take responsibility in your fitness journey and realize that you can make changes, and then it's a direct translation of, okay, I'm going to take responsibility that I'm 50 pounds overweight and I'm going to do something about that. So then I'm going to take responsibility every day for my fitness journey, and I'm going to work out every day. And then you're going to start to see results. So that is direct. Like, you can, there's
Correlation.
there you go. That's the word I was looking for. And so there's a direct correlation between, I took responsibility here, I made changes, and now I feel better and I see benefits. And so then now you learn that and you teach yourself that. And then the next step is, let's do it with our diet as well. Let's do it with our nutrition. Then our next step is, let's take responsibility for our home life, for our relationships, for people that are in our lives. Then the next step is, let's take responsibility for our mental. Maybe the mental is before the home life, but you get what I'm saying. The point here is, you can stack the responsibility. Start small. Your fitness is this very small thing. Learn, teach yourself, give yourself the confidence so that you can then take responsibility for more, take responsibility for relationships, the mental health. And then when you get to that point, you're going to start to be able to fix or eliminate the negative relationships, the negative thoughts, the negative stuff, because you've taken responsibility.
Yeah.
If there's somebody in your life that you have a terrible relationship with, don't blame them for it. What did you do to create that situation? What did you do to cause that? And if you feel like you did something to do that, then go repair that. If you were waiting for someone else to repair that relationship, why aren't you repairing that relationship? Because you take responsibility and then lead by example. And I feel like the taking responsibility is the first domino. And then once that happens, everything in your life can change.
The real part of that, though, and we want to be completely honest with everybody out there, that's not going to be like the next day, the next
Oh,
week, the
sure.
next month. What you just described, because I took control or took accountability for my fitness journey years or decades ago.
Yeah,
But then just this past year is when I started to take accountability with the wrestling portion, that I wanted to leave a positive legacy to serve and help others and
sure.
educate and hopefully entertain. So it took a lot more maturity to do that. So what you just described could take almost a lifetime to achieve, could take decades, or could take within a year. I mean,
Yeah.
but if you don't work at it, you don't try and you don't try to accelerate that, you're never going to know. But the
Yeah.
fitness one, I agree with you. Once you start saying, wow, I can control my diet, I can control my workouts, and I'm getting 100% out of what I put into it. If I change this and only get 50% back, wow, that's going to be awesome. I changed this. You need that. It really is. Triple H said a long time ago, and people goofed on him. Everything he learned about life, he learned in the gym. A very
Hmm.
basic blanket statement, but what we just described, that's how you sum it up.
Yeah. Yep. And let's put a pin in that, because that's amazing. I just really think that that's the key here for a lot of people. And the whole topic of this episode is taking responsibility. Start there. Start with your fitness journey. That's your action steps. Look at your fitness, see where it's at. Look at your health, see where it's at, and take responsibility for where you are. Give yourself some grace. Now let's move forward. Boom. Done.
I'm going to leave it with this real quick. We may have our first book review coming up soon.
Yeah, I got to get
in
it.
a future episode, Warrior Poet Way. I'm not a great reader, but I've been reading like a couple pages since my wife got this for me for my birthday. Yes, I'm 52. I know. You don't have to remind me. Easy read so far. And this guy's going through, I think, the same kind of positive midlife crisis that you and I are going through.
Sure.
Just craving less.
Sure.
It sounds weird to say those two words together. Craving less, craving quality, craving the more substance of life rather than the superficial stylistic BS that we see. We don't want dopamine hits. We want a lifetime of fostering a legacy. And that's what this, and I also have to practice my dry firing. So that reminds me about that. But that's about it. Take us out, Mike. But I think we want to do book reviews and stuff like that. And I think this here would be a good initial thing to stack on top of this episode about personal responsibility.
Love it. That's great. I love it. Yeah. And happy birthday too. I'll say it on here. As of day of recording this,
Wasn't
Stevie's
as late
birthday.
as the other wish, but that's okay.
Stevie's birthday was this
care.
past Monday. So reach out to him and say happy birthday. Shoot him a text. It's a little late, but it's okay. By the time this airs, it'll be real late, but oh well,
you know what
whatever.
the great thing about like not thinking my birthday is a big deal or not I think my life is a big deal because I've been given the gift once again. But why it's not a big deal is because each and every day outside of that is just as important for me
sure.
to make it special. And that's why I was just like, even my wife, when I know I'm going off a tangent, you got to go. My wife, I was just like, over the weekend, she made me my first thing of shepherd's pie, which was awesome. I've never had it before. And she made me a shadow box, and I got not cry when I talk about it, but I'll show it to you. I'll send a picture. She made a shadow box of my hospital gown, my wrist thing, the Mayo Clinic PIC line cover, and Romans 8:28, my favorite verse from the Bible. Yeah, got me with it. But I'm gonna but that made more gifts like that. Just I can't even, and she made me a pegboard for the garage gym and just stuff like that's amazing.
That's awesome. Your wife's a pretty awesome lady.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. So yeah, let's get out of here before we have any more. Yeah. So hey, thanks everybody for tuning in to this week's episode. Like we said at the beginning, please submit your questions so that we can start to answer them and help you specifically with any specific questions that you might have. Email us at thebigfitnessshow@gmail.com. Comment on the YouTube channel, The Big Fitness Show on YouTube. Follow us on social media. You can always leave a voicemail on the podcast, on the Spotify podcast, and we'll get back to you and answer the questions, hopefully on an episode. So thanks for the tuning in this week. And for Stevie and myself, go take some responsibility for your actions. Get started. Those are your action steps, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, everybody.
Such a crybaby.